First, a reminder that the function of a pronoun is to replace a word. So a relative pronoun will replace a word, but it will also act as a linking word and relate sentences together. So if I take these two sentences, I bought a house, the house is big. In the second sentence, we see the word the house, that is the subject of the sentence because it's doing the action of being big. This is the word I'm going to replace with a pronoun, and to do that, I put that or which instead. So my final sentence is I bought a house that is big. For people, it's the same principle. I like the girl lives next door. The girl is the subject because she's the one doing the action of living next door. And to replace the girl with a pronoun this time, because it's a person, I'm going to say who. Now let's have a look at two more examples. First one is I like the car, I drive the car. Now in these two sentences we see that in the second one the word the car is not the subject, it's the object. The subject is I'm the one doing the action, and the car is the object of the verb. So this time we're going to replace it with that, but in order to link the sentences together, we've got to put it in between the two sentences. So I like the car that I drive. Another example, I see the man, I know the man. In the second sentence, the word the man is the object. Again, I'm going to replace it with a pronoun and put it in between the two sentences in order to link them. I see the man whom I know. The good news is that it works the same in French. You will use qui, that means who or that, to replace the subject in the second sentence. So let's have a look at examples. Je connais la fille chante. I know the girl is singing. I'm going to get rid of la fille in the second sentence and replace it with qui. Je connais la fille qui chante. I know the girl who is singing. If I take an example that's not a person, j'aime le pain est frais. I like the bread is fresh. If I want to replace le pain in the second sentence, it is the subject of the sentence because le pain is doing the action of being fresh. So I get rid of it and I end up with j'aime le pain qui est frais. I like bread that is fresh. We will use que, that means whom, that and which, to replace the object. So in these two sentences we've got j'aime la voiture, tu conduis la voiture, I like the car, you drive the car. In the second sentence the word la voiture is repeated, so that's the word we're going to get rid of, and we will replace it with a pronoun que. So let's do that. Let's replace it, and of course to link the two sentences together we need to place the pronoun in between them. Another example, if I say tu vois la fille, je connais la fille, you see the girl, I know the girl, we're going to replace the word fille in the second sentence, and it's of course the object of the sentence because the subject is je, I'm the one who knows, I'm the one doing the action, la fille is the object. So I get rid of it and I put que in between the two sentences. Tu vois la fille que je connais, you see the girl whom I know. I said it works the same in French, but it's almost the same because we must remember that you cannot leave out the relative pronoun in French. So if we look at the first example again, I like the car that you drive. In English, you would be able to say, I like the car you drive. In French, we cannot. We have to leave the pronoun que where it is. We can't leave it out. The same as for the second example. You see the girl whom I know. You could say in English, you see the girl, I know, but we cannot do that in French. Tu vois la fille que je connais. We have to leave the pronoun. If you feel a bit confused by all this, there's a useful tip that never fails. Qui is always followed by a verb. It always comes before a verb because in fact it replaces a subject. For example, le chat qui court est gris. The cat that is running is grey. Court is the verb, running. Les enfants qui jouent sont amusants. The children who are playing are funny. The verb is joue. Qui is just before the verb. Que, however, is always followed by a noun or a pronoun. For example, le livre que je lis est intéressant. The book that I'm reading is interesting. La musique que ma sœur écoute est nulle. So que will always go before a noun or a pronoun and never a verb. You never have a verb after que. So that's a very useful tip, and that should enable you to use these two relative pronouns much more easily. Now let's practice. Link up the two sentences using a relative pronoun. Okay, so I've got these two sentences. Je mange un gâteau, le gâteau est délicieux. If I want to link them up, le gâteau is the word I'm going to replace in the second sentence, therefore is the subject. I'm going to end up with je mange un gâteau qui est délicieux. Je fais un travail, j'aime le travail. In the second sentence, the word travail is the object, therefore we're going to have je fais un travail que j'aime. J'ai une maison, ma maison est petite. In the second sentence, ma maison is the subject. Therefore, j'ai une maison qui est petite. Il a un chien, il adore son chien. In the second sentence, son chien is the object. So that's the bit we're going to replace. Il a un chien que il adore. Now we've got a little problem, and it's the rule of elision kicking in again. We've got il, which is a vowel, and then we've got que. Que will need to lose its e before a vowel or an h, so we end up with il a un chien qu'il adore. This only works with que, it doesn't affect qui. Le prof explique une règle, la règle est difficile. In the second sentence, la règle is the subject, therefore we're going to end up with le prof explique une règle qui est difficile. Finally, a little bit more practice. This time you need to fill in the gap with the correct relative pronoun. Remember that qui goes before a verb and que before a noun or a pronoun. So that should make it simple. Number one, la chose, and we need the gap being filled. And we've got je préfère. We notice that we've got je. The thing that I prefer is therefore la chose que je préfère. Les gens, and then we've got parle. Parle is a verb, so the people who are talking, les gens qui parlent. Je vois un oiseau, I see a bird, and we've got the verb chante. So therefore, before a verb, I'm going to have qui. Je vois un oiseau qui chante. L'idée, elles ont eu. Now, this time we have elles, and before we should have que, because it's a pronoun. So, l'idée que elles ont eu, qu'elles ont eu, because of course we've got the rule of elision. And finally, le gâteau, les enfants mangent. We've got les enfants, this is not a verb, so it can't be qui. We're going to have le gâteau que les enfants mangent. the cake that the children are eating. I have used phonics in this lesson, so if you want to find out a bit more, you can watch this lesson and download the summary sheet from my website.